the first in a part of a 5-week series we will be doing in February that's celebrating Wichita's Black history. This first program in the series is on the history of Black educators. And this series is going to run every Thursday through February at 12:30 to 1:30. And it will be live streamed, as well as will be on our YouTube channel. So look out for that. If you have any friends that weren't able to make it today, be sure to tell them about it. We don't know when it'll be up. It might be in a few weeks or so. Just kind of keep your eyes peeled to our YouTube channel for that. Before I hand it over, today we have Janice Burdine Thacker presenting today, and I wanted to give you a little bit of information about her. Janice is an artist, author, community organizer, arts educator, and retired school counselor. She has been a lifelong community activist, working tirelessly for positive change for youth. In 2015, she launched an annual art show during Black History Month, a program called Art That Touches Your Heart. Since then, Art That Touches Your Heart has grown into a nonprofit organization focused on Black arts and culture. In 2017, the organization founded the Black Teachers Hall of Fame that honors Black educators who have made a positive impact in the lives of their students and within their communities. Members of the Hall of Fame are selected through a community-led nomination and voting process. Before I hand it over to Janice, I do want to note one thing. Before you leave today, we do have a program evaluation, either a QR code or the paper form. That will let us know what you think of today's program. If you want to see more like this, that's how we find out, and that feedback helps. So now I'm going to hand it over to Janice. Thank you.
Thank you. Can everyone hear me? Not yet? This one? Oh, okay. Now you can hear me. Thank you so much. I owe so many people for helping me reach this point. If I start naming names, I may leave somebody off. It's been a village, and it's been a tribute and a challenge to keep our young people involved. I decided to wear my most expensive outfit in my closet. This is my graduation gown from college. But on the inside, I put all the people that helped me make it. So I've got my parents' pictures, I've got the Black Teachers Hall of Fame on the back here, and other inspirational things that have helped me. We want to let our kids know that you don't come here by yourself. Somebody picks you up along the way. And I want to thank my angels of many colors, because some of them even fix my lunch every day. First, I want to thank God, because without prayer, remember we used to have prayer in the schools before 1962? So that took a village. I came from, this is Dunbar School, and I lived in a Black community where we had Black doctors and lawyers. I was a child at Phyllis Sweetley Children's Home. My mother and parents were divorced. New Hope Baptist Church, McAdams Park. My community was 9th and Cleveland. My mother allowed me to go to the grocery store by myself, and I was about 5, because she knew it was a safe neighborhood. And so one time I saw coupons in the paper, and she said, oh, these are worth money. So I cut them out, took them to the grocery store, and the girl didn't know any more than I did because she gave me the money. So Mom said, where'd you get that money? I said, I got it from the grocery store. I told her what I did. So next Sunday she said, let's try it again. This time I had to buy some groceries. Dunbar School, this documentary is by Gerald Norwood. And so we're only taking a segment out. How do I show you that part? Oh, I'm in this. I'm in a little white skirt dancing on stage. I guess he cut it. There's me. See me? Parents, I just said yes, ma'am. Okay. She said I could look, but don't touch. And of course, I said yes, ma'am. Schools were integrated in the city. The law was in the city, but it was not yet in the schools. My first time with white teachers and white classmates, no problems, because black children were well behaved, and except if someone called you the N word. For me, middle school, I took my soap and towel because that's the first time I had been in a shower, and my lotion because I didn't want to be ashy. Because we had a tub at home, so we got rides or we walked to school. This was before busing started. And in the rain, I remember I had a new pair of shoes and I took them off and walked barefoot all the way home because I didn't want to mess up my shoes. We walked from Central Middle School down to 17th and Grove, where Cribb's drugstore was, and we could go in there and listen to black music. It was a teenage place, and we could dance. Black-owned drugstore. Mr. Cribbs, he was also in politics, and then he had a son that coached football. So the music I was listening to was Chuck Berry's School Days. Get up in the morning and go to school. I don't know, some of you are in here old enough to know that song. Remember? Give a nod. Okay. Other music was Nat King Cole, Mona Lisa, Percy Sledge, Please Send Me Someone to Love, Little Richard, Long Tall Sally, and The Twist by Chubby Checker. In Wichita, we had Channel 12, Hi-Fi Hop, where we could go on and dance. And so Leroy Bell, one of my classmates, he had an old car that we had to put wood in the floor, and so that's how we got there. But we had to run every day to make it, like I was running today. Even though Brown versus the Board was in place in 1954, it wasn't until 1971 when they started enacting buses. And this is the 70th year of Brown versus the Board of Education. I graduated by the time I graduated in 1961, I was a married teenager with a 2-year-old. My mother went to night school with me. She helped me in summer school so that I gained all my credits. And when I graduated, she bought me a car. That shows you it was a joint venture. Attending WSU, I worked full-time And when my boss, when I was working in the sewing machine department at can't say the word, Cessna, on power sewing machines. So they gave me a test. Do you know how to work a power sewing machine? So my cousin, who worked at a band company, said, all you got to do is just, instead of lifting the presser foot with your hand, do it with your knee. So I said, oh, okay. So I went to take my test, and I passed it. And before the guy who was evaluating me, I grabbed him by the leg. I said, are you going to pass me on this test? So all of us became friends. That's why they kept trying to hire me back. But it was thanks to my Aunt Fox, my friends, Marion Childs, Diane Parks, Marion Haynes, the Bell family. Let me tell you, the Bell family gave me shoes all the way through college because Miss Bell worked for the lady that owned Hinkle's store. Anybody remember Hinkle's? Okay. Okay, and she had two girls, but I was the only one could wear that size. So I had shoes to match everything. My friend Regina Faust, oh gosh, if she had just told me no one time, I would have quit school. She helped me so much. So I never rode the school bus. And when I graduated from WSU, Lean On Me was coming out for those terrible schools that you had to work in. And I did have some terrible schools. I started at Truesdale in 1969. I think 1970 is when they started busing. So they were having a lot of problems at the school, but not me. I was having fun. I first volunteered to have an art club. Then we had a student council, so I volunteered for that. And so then we had Toys for Tots, you know, that program where people can come in for a talent show if they bring a toy. So we had a big write-up in the newspaper. When I left Truesdale, then I went to White Plains, New York. I can start showing the next part. Although, yeah, this is the bottom of, yeah, keep going. That's a color test. I was going to give you a color test, but I may do it at the end because I have so much stuff with 40-some years. So anyway, we'll go past that. How do I do that? Oh, don't go nowhere. Just sit over here. Help me. Yeah. No, we're not going to play. We're just going to go to the next. There we go. Now, how do I keep moving them? One on the right. Okay. Okay, my youngest son told me, he said, Mom, if you just keep your hand down, you won't have all these projects to do. Because sometimes when he'd come home, we had made 20-some drums for Holy Savior School. And I had all these cardboard carpet tubes in the driveway painted white. I said, they're getting ready to make drums. So then my neighbor around the corner, he knew somewhere to get the tops and the sides. So then we had another group, another one of my students, he knew how to play the drums. So they had drum lessons. Now they have a drum class. But it all starts with putting your hand up. Okay, this is Truesdale, my first school. And you can see that. You see, I had a whole bunch of hair then, wearing a different way. This was our 9th grade party and the art club. This is when I went on TV. I'm over here in case you don't know who I am. I'm over on the left. This is when I came back from New York. The students in New York, the seniors had half a day when they could go down to the city and study with professionals in their field, art or music or drama. And then everybody was winning scholastic awards but us. So when I got back to Wichita, I said, we're going to stop this. So out of 10 categories, we won 8 for commercial design. But I called my friend that worked at Beechcraft. I said, tell me about the best paper and the best pencils. Because by the time you use construction paper, it get to New York, it's faded. Okay, so I just bought it out of my pocket. I wasn't going to ask anybody for it. But the kids were so excited. And what I did was I figured out students throw assignments in the trash if they're a C. So I said, well, I'm tired of this. So I developed a midway grading point. So I had the students, I said, it's time for the midway grade. Bring your things to my desk and we'll talk about it. So I said, well, now you had a C, but if you take it back over there, you could probably get an A. Every last one of them would go back and work harder. It's like having that prelude to, I don't want to get a bad grade. But it worked every time. Oh, this is when I worked at Emporia State, another job. By the way, I worked at 11 schools, one university in a foreign country, and nobody ever fired me, okay? So that's not why I was moving. I worked in the I worked in the admissions office, and so I would have students come in, and I would be taking pictures. They said, well, why don't you make us a brochure? I said, oh, yeah, okay. Then they said, how about a job in a different department? I said, oh, yeah. So I went to work for Emporia State University Apartments. We had 96 units, and the man who was in charge, we had gotten into a disagreement because one of my sorority sisters had had a complaint about them having the door closed when they were having a sorority meeting. So we had had this big old dispute, and so when they got ready to hire me for a job, they said, can you work with this man? I said, I can work with anybody, okay? So sure enough, I worked for him for 5 years. Dennis, oh gosh. All right, this is some of the things. We had yard sales, we did floats, and they said, oh, Janice, you can't never get that done because the apartments had never been in the homecoming parade. So they had 96, those little carts. You see people on cutting grass and stuff with those little carts? Anyway, that's what we did. We put Annie on there. So those are my kids. So everybody that lined up for the parade, they looked at us and laughed. They were marching bands and different organizations. But when my kids came from the apartments, it was Halloween that October, and so they all had Halloween costumes, and they had decorated their bikes. So it's like I was cheering by then. We had daycare center for those returning students. We gave them jobs in the summer, so they had different programs. So then I had to go to one of the apartments and decide which one that the fire department would approve for us to have daycare on campus. Another job. Oh, that's our float on the side. And then I made the brochure for roommates. That's my art there. And then that's me screaming out the end. My son is down there by Emporia, Ari. With that R letter, he was about 3. Now, the modeling club at East High School. Oh, this is Emporia State. I'm still there. All right, this one, you can see some of the models, but we did vintage clothing. And so we came to Wichita to some of the stores. They used to have them on Douglas where they sold old clothes. Nobody remembers that part. Okay, so we used the vintage clothing, and then we made thank you notes. That's a Emporia State symbol. But the lady who was retiring, we made it for her. So she was almost in tears by the time the fashion show was over. Now, this is when, gosh, I can't remember her name. She was a track runner. She came to Emporia State. And then when they were having a lot of kids that were killed in Atlanta, we went to the city and asked for a Green Ribbon Day. And then that's another Toys for Tots program. All right, this is the modeling club at East High School. We had 325 members. We had members of every size and every color. And so what we did, we had shows for the whole school. And Mr. Allen, he was one of our administrators. He'd come out and model his jacket with us. So I told him, I said, don't read the script. Just say the kid's name and the store and turn the music up loud. So the audience changed as the shows went on. At first they said, I don't know what she got that on for. She don't look good in that. But by the second and third year, they were saying, I could wear that, same size kids. So the image changed. So you'll see some of our full-figured models. This is Krista Rue. She got a contract to model in Paris. And so the day that she came in from Paris, we were having a show. The night before, I called her mom. She said, she'll be sick, but just pick her out a dress. So when she came in, the whole auditorium went wild because it still meant something to her to be in our modeling club from the beginning and then to get discovered. Then we took them to the Ebony Fashion Fair. They don't have that anymore. So you can see some of the models. This, I worked on teenage pregnancy, and I had we did a dramatization, a mime. And so the kids had to act out the part, and then the classroom had to tell me what they were saying. What did he say to her to get her to go with him? And so then they'd be whispering, and then now she's going to tell him that she's pregnant. Now what does he say? And he jumps up and throws his hands up, and then the students are calling him a dirty dog. But the comical thing, when I went out to collegiate school, the principal out there said, don't you remember I was in your skit for teenage pregnancy? No, he's all grown now, okay? I got a good job. But anyway, I worked on this for quite a while. Nothing? We worked that one. Now, how do I go? Am I through? Keep clicking. Okay, it's not moving. There it is. You got the special touch. Okay, this is when I was in Camaso, Italy. We did a fashion show there, me and fashion shows. It has to do with self-esteem, with being able to see yourself, and this goes for every race. Everybody wants to feel better about themselves. And that's what I found out. I was working with them 325. Everybody, when we had meetings, nobody could sit down. If you were not modeling, you had to get up and help the other students. So we were in the auditorium, and it was like everybody had a job. You either helped them get dressed or you helped with making sure we got the things back clean. You know, and sometimes students are picky about clothes, and they'll say, I sure don't like that. I said, listen, you're not buying it. Somebody will buy it, but you may get discovered. That's all you had to say. So in Italy, this is our lineup, military base, DOD school. The situation there was when we brought the mean coats, you see the fur coats in there? They belong to the Italians, and the Italians were not going to let their mink coats go anywhere without their Uzi guns. So I had to go to the guard to the gate of the base and talk to them to leave their guns there, because they weren't going to let them bring them on base. Leave their guns there and let the mink coats come in. But you see, we had a show. Northwest High School. This is a drill team at the top, and the drill team decided at the game, if they couldn't get in free, they're going to block the gate and make sure everybody else couldn't get in. So they said, and I was getting ready to go home, and someone said, Janice, you better go back. So when I went back, the typing teacher said, you better go down and talk to those students. So I went down there and told them where to go in nice language. And I said, if you don't want, somebody's coming behind you, that you're going to mess up their opportunity. So the kids got out of the way. We didn't have any more problems. We went all downtown for the St. Patrick's Day parade. The one at the bottom, you see, that's still the float. And I have to thank all my principals because they allowed me the freedom to help students experience success. And that's what it's about. That's what helped me. So this is a tutoring. We had in-class tutoring for seniors. The seniors had to go into, they were off half a day, and so we took surveys for the kids that were having problems in classes, and then they could go in and listen to the instruction, because sometimes when students are listening, they miss something. And so when they miss something, then they don't know how to help themselves. So the students went in. So the one of my students said, I have a French teacher, and she's not going to let you have any kids in her room. I said, oh, what hour do you have that class? So the hour she had the class, I went in the room. And when I asked her about it, she said, oh, no, we really don't need that. I said, well, tell me, are all your students making A's? Well, no, I guess we could use a tutor, right? So this is the article in the newspaper about the tutoring program. And then I had them to make steps. A lot of times in explanation, they have so many words that kids miss some of those words. So step one, what do you do? Step two, what do you do? Break it down so that they in turn can follow along and make better grades. All of the kids made better grades from this program. Oh, we're still on the float. Don't they look gorgeous? These were some of those vintage gowns that we used at Emporia State. Okay, I made door knockers. These are some door knockers on here. Congratulations. And this is one of our seniors. He had been with these kids all the way to the junior year, but he passed away. So I made up messages, and I gave them to all the seniors, and I said, goodbye message. So I had this basket all decorated for the parents because I thought the messages were going to go to them. No, they put all the messages in the casket with the young man. So you don't never know what's going to affect kids and how they appreciate each other. And the man of the funeral home, he said he'd never seen that before. Another group, USD 259, Black History Troop. I think I dropped the 2, didn't I? Okay. Out of 7 schools, we had a black counselor at each high school, and I was president. They elected me president of the Council Association for Wichita schools. You know, I was over there drawing, okay, when they voted me in. And they said, now you're the president. I said, well, I was right in this room. What happened? So anyway, so sometimes they recruit you for projects and you don't even know it. Anyway, I called all the counselors. I said, send me your best students because we're getting ready to put this troop together and we're going to go to elementary schools. We went to KU for the leadership conference. We performed up and down the highway. So one of the teachers said, well, you know, I really have a kid that's having problems. I said, I can't take them. But, you know, if they just had a chance, I said, I can't take them. They have to be mature enough. If I tell them to do something, I can't run and find them. So all of these kids, a lot of these kids, my young man is over to the, where's Jesse? Now, you know, you just gave me instruction and I don't know what to do. Nope, not there. Go back. Anyway, he's on the your far left, your far right, second on the back. And then Shonda, the girl with the head wrap, she became a teacher. And the girl sitting down became a lawyer. And the girl next, well, she became an actress, but the one next to her is a doctor in Kansas City. And Michael, this is the one I was talking about. See the girl and then the boy on this side. He was a national merit finalist, the top 1% of students in the nation. And so with the scheduling program, if they schedule the students Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and then geometry, they'll miss the national merit tests because geometry is on the test. They only give it once a year. It's in October, the first week. And I was over to Urban Prep picking up some artwork for another project in Wichita State. And one of the young ladies, you know, everybody's grown now, she said, you kept telling me to take that test. She was a ninth grader when I went to Kansas City. And I said, no, I don't remember you, but what happened? She said her scores were high enough it paid for all 4 years of her college. So you see, it's within your reach to help if you can. But I'll listen, one of my students called me today and prayed for me, okay? And I had her at Emporia State in the 80s, the last of the 70s. But she called me. So, you know, hey, all the time. All right, this is a Black Unity Ball, 95. Before this ball, every year we would say, did anybody black make it on the court? Did anybody play 2 black songs? The kids spent all that money to get dressed up, and then they rarely became king and queen. So my son, he was a senior then. And so he said, Mom, can we do something? I said, sure. I called Wichita State, and I asked him, could we get the ballroom? Because we want to have a Black Unity Ball. I didn't say Black Unity. I just said unity. So they saw it was from Northwest. They said, sure, you can have a ball up here. So the third floor. So when we got there, they increased the price on us $400. I said, that's all right. We're going to have this ball. So all the students from all over the schools had to vote. But only they had to vote for somebody who was helping other students. They didn't have to be the most popular. They didn't have to be the best athlete. So that's how they got their kings and queens. And let me tell you, one of the dads came up, he wanted, because the kids, we had photographers, a band, and so he wanted to bring some, because kids were calling, would you bring some money up here so I could take a picture? So he came up in some Bermuda shorts cut off. We said, you can't go upstairs. So we went home and put on some long pants, but they were still wrinkly, so you can't go upstairs. So when he came back, he was dressed up. When he went upstairs, he said, I cannot believe it. They all look like movie stars. But they had been getting their hair done, buying their clothes, and nobody bought a ticket until the day of the program. So then my son said, well, I don't want to go down there and pick up that money. I said, oh, yes, you're going to pick up this money because we got to pay these bills. But you know how the kids are talking? Oh, let me tell you about my school. We were selling tickets to the ball, okay? So the guys said, we're not going to rent a tux. No, we're not going to do it. So I got all the girls together. I said, tell me, who has the most power? Me or do you? They said, we do. I said, oh, well, let me tell you what you do. Every time you see them, I want you to tell them how smart they are, how wonderful they are. They not only rented their tux, but they came in a limousine. This was the botillion my son was in, so it was done for his, this is a student from my school. That was the king and the queen from my school. They had to help people. This is another group I had called African American Male Leadership Academy. I had these young men for about 3 years from all the schools. And so after basketball practice, they would get together and learn the stomp. The stomp is a dance that the fraternities and sororities do. And that's them performing at Wichita State in the lower right. And that's me at practice. Okay, this is my book. It's called Genius of the Slave. I was working at Schlegel High School, and I had 2 young ladies who were going to drop physics. And so I asked them, I said, is this class hard? They said, no, it's easy. I said, oh, well, let me tell you about your obligation to the slaves. So that's how this book got started, because I talked to them for, I bet it was almost an hour. They didn't say a word. And then I was walking a couple of days later down in the science hall, and they called me in. You know how they call you? Psst, 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 psst. Come on in. They told me they were going to stay in physics. So I said, maybe that's an inspiration, maybe a motivation to say when you know you own somebody something, you need to get up and go to work. It's not just about you. So anyway, this is the book. It's a tabletop book. I printed it in 2000, and I've been working on the evidence to Genius of the Slave, and that is Boley, Oklahoma. And I now have 350 pictures to tell this story. So it's a lot of research, because Boley, Oklahoma is the most all-research black town in Oklahoma, because there were 2 black cities in this country, Mount Bayou, Mississippi, and Boley, Oklahoma. This is when I worked at Blue Valley North. After I left Schlegel, I was in charge of AP testing. So they fly you to Iowa. They show you how to administer the test, give you all the rules. So those are all the areas that I had for Blue Valley. So the man that had it before, he said, Janice, I'm worried you don't have very many kids coming in to sign up for this test. So I figured if he was worried, I ought to be scared to death. So I went down to the bookkeeper and asked her how many kids had paid. And it was only about maybe 50, and he had about 150. So I got to work, got kids signed up. We had 700 to take the test. Okay? So we didn't take it at the school. We went over to KU. There was one in Overland Park, med school. We went over there to take the test. So everybody had to be in their seats on time. So the physics teacher, he had been so mean to my kids. He said he had one boy that was running late. I said, if he is not here by 12:30, my time, he won't be able to take the test. So everybody in the room was watching the clock. And about 5 minutes before, kind of like me, he ran in the room, and everybody took a sigh of relief that he had made it for that test. But this is a field trip here. I can't think, he's a baseball player out of Kansas City. He came to speak. And so we went from Blue Valley North to, can't think of the name of the college, another field trip. But they said, well, where are their parents? You know, in Blue Valley, they expect for parents to be at home. I don't know who they expect to go to work. I said, all their parents are at work. They said, oh, well, yeah, you can take them. So on the field trip, what is interesting is, for me, is that I was watching the young man who drove the bus. And so when we got on campus, he was talking to some other young men. They were all working out where they were going to take the students. So I kept telling them, I said, you know, I got to go back and do my work. So we're not going to be here for lunch. And so I kept watching them, and I said, we're going to stay. Surely enough, when the young man, the one that was the most popular with them, came out to speak, what he opened with, I chose this college because of the relationship with my mother and God. I said, I couldn't have paid for that one. Sometimes kids need to see that the spiritual relationship that you have means something. Because he said, I could have went anywhere to play basketball. The kids almost fell down because they had been joking and playing with him all the time. But anyway, that's, I can't think of the baseball player's name. He came to speak. Now we're at Wichita State. This is a show that we do, our nonprofit organization, Art That Touches Your Heart. And so you'll see, yep, I'm on there. This is Muhammad Sharif. Used to be Kelly Pete. He played basketball for Wichita State University. Now he has a museum, a gallery in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and he sells African artifacts to museums all over the world. So you can see some of the display in the back. This was before COVID. Okay, as a road artist, my mentor, who will be here tomorrow, Frank Frazier, has over 1,000,000 miles on him. For the last 40 years, he has been selling black art, starting with Art Basel. Anybody know what that is? Okay, Art Basel. Art Basel is the largest art show in this country. It's held in Miami the first week in December. 1.3 million people go to that show. So we done be in the main section. That was like $10,000 for the main booth. But people get rooms in hotels and have shows. So that's how we got to go. This show was in Chicago, 250 vendors. They had so much African art. I said, I know it's none left in Africa. They must have brought it all over. They must have brought it all over here for this show. But you are so inspired as artists, you can't go to sleep. You have to get up and go to work. So that's what we try to do for the kids, make them get up and have to go to work. Nobody have to tell you. This is Art Basil's show. This is out of New York. My friends, my art teacher, he taught me how to paint because I was making prints. And so my mentor said, I am so sick of them brown prints. Will somebody teach her how to paint? So my painting instructor is Arnani Silver. So he started me out with the black canvas and then used a silver pen, and they're called negative space paintings. This is at Martha's Vineyard. So you see, we went everywhere, okay? Martha's Vineyard show. This was a really nice one. They have a boat that kind of carries you over to the island. So my friend decided that she wasn't going to wait on him. You know, artists have different personalities as you're working with them. Anyway, this is Romeo Bearden. This is his artwork here. Romeo Bearden did a portrait of President Clinton. This is the Harlem Fine Arts Show. I've done that show about 3 times, but you can see different organizations sponsor this. In fact, Woodrow Nash, he is in Ohio. He's a sculptor. And he came here 2 years ago and brought his work. But then when they got to Oklahoma, it was snowing so bad they had to stay in Oklahoma and then come on to Wichita. But I was trying to get my organization to buy some work. If you keep letting work pass through your hands, you don't have a collection. You just have a half a memory. Anyway, they didn't do it. Okay, this is Frank Frazier. He'll be here tomorrow at City Arts. You can go in and talk to him. You may have somebody in your family that likes art or does art or wants to know about being a road artist because he is the one that does the instruction. Oh, he does his work with black shoe polish because at one time, black men could only make a living polishing shoes. This is Jamal Stafford. He's a young artist. I have some of his work here. This is Frank because he also involves people in his workshop. He did some workshops at East High School. There was another school here. When they come in town, this is Robert Carter. He just retired in New York. He taught realistic painting. So this is the museum in Dallas at the bottom. So our first trip, we took an overnight bus trip to the museum in Dallas. And so then the students, they came over after about an hour. They said, we're ready to go. We know everything in here. I said, tell me, name one artist. They couldn't name it. I said, you're not ready to go. Go back. Go back and find some names. We had made up bandanas, and we had Bowley, and then I said, go and get a signature from every artist in a silver pen. Okay? So then Frank said, you should have sold those. I said, no, students are tired of paper. Now they don't have paper, they have computers. But at that time, it was paper. So if you have something different, they'll keep up with it. There's Bob Carter. He uses old wood, weathered wood, to do his paintings on. And this one over here, where you see him and the lady, said, my mama worked to send me to college. Oh, don't that make you want to get up and do something? Okay, this is Woodrow Nash's work. He's in Ohio. And when his work came in, it's just like phenomenal. Thank you. Yes, you think they're going to talk. This is Minna Dunn has a photographic memory, so arguing with her like takes all day, okay? She's out of New York. She's a curator, and she does shows, and she used to have traveling shows. So you meet a lot of people. This is a Tom Joyner cruise. So we don't have Tom Joyner radio station here, do we? Well, it's in Kansas City and every place else. But anyway, the Tom Joyner cruise, they help to raise scholarship funds for the SBCUs. So as you can see, I'm in the bottom with my art over here. I got to do that cruise. The people that go on the cruise, like they hear, it's all like a soul cruise. They hear black music, they wear, and then they dress for the period. So when it comes to the 70s, come with these big old afro wigs and these platform shoes. Some of them even had a fish in it, a little goldfish in the heel. And he said, how did you guys get all that stuff on this boat? But it is a fun trip. For a week, you don't hear one argument, not one dispute. Everybody is having fun. This is when we went to the state capitol, so I didn't bring that apron today. You see, I brought enough. The apron kind of talks about our organization and some of the events that we have. This is one of the shows at Wichita State where the young man does African prints on clothing. Art that touches your heart. This is some of our experience. We went to the Hamptons. This is an art book. When I was at Emporia State, some of the artists that I admired were black artists, but I didn't know it. My instructor was white from California, and he figured out I didn't know who they were. So he gave me this book. But in this book, we had this book at the university where I was attending, our public schools. So sometimes you're getting an education from people who come from another place. They have to have a different perspective. So that's why I put this book in it. The drawing at the top, the little girl, that's a pencil artist. He does that with pencil. And so he is the artist that does the portraits for the Black Educators Hall of Fame. His name is Randy Ledger, so if you want a pencil drawn, I thought that was a touching picture of the little boy trying to find self-identity. I did this banner for KMUW called The Dreamer in 2014. This is a lot of the shows that we had combined together. This is our website. Oh, we do Halloween Boo over in our neighborhood. We have shipping containers down on 13th and Green, and then so you can see some of the kids from the neighborhood. Looking at trying to establish Ruby's Culture Campus. This is at Mark Arts. So there's Frank Frazier. Now the gentleman to the back of me, he now has a gallery called Mulberry Gallery, and it's down on Central. It's the shipping containers. He's in part of that. So that's some of the impact that teaching makes. If you keep going, things start to catch on. And this is at Mark Arts. There's a KMUW reps and Melanie Miller. And then Olitha Faust was my student in the 70s, okay? So I'll be calling people in the middle of the night to get them up and ask them favors. Melvin, he's played basketball. Melvin Reed, he's in St. Louis. He plays basketball. He played basketball for Wichita State, but he does African jewelry now. So when we had the kids come over from Holy Savior, and then I have a teacher over in Andover, and she brings her kids. She was at Brooks then. And so the kids come in, they get a cord. And then they can pick out the beads that they want to assemble their bracelets. So when they get through the last bead, it says WSU. Okay? But it can say art that touches your heart. Or it can say your organization. He'll be here on the 23rd. That's a Friday. So he'll be at Holy Savior and Urban Prep, I think. But anyway, those, and I called the teacher at Andover. When her daughter came over, I said, have her go over there and make a bracelet. So she said, well, how much do they cost? I said, they're free. She said, when I called her in the summer, she said that girl puts that bracelet on every morning. So this is one of our, well, you know Brandon Johnson? City councilman. He comes out and gives us an award. And then this is Wendy Liggins and Sheila Kennard. She was one of our winners. Wendy used to be a student when I was at East High School, when I came out of New York. Then she became an art teacher. and now she's retired. This is a news article they did on us about the shipping containers down on 13th and Green. We're trying to create a cultural connection. That's what it should look like if we ever get enough money. And this is talking about what important the cultural connection is. And what it does, it helps teachers have a broader view of that student. Because as we grow up, we're looking for people that look like us. Even within our family. We're looking for shades, we're looking for hair, we're looking for eyes. And so this was about Afro-circular children versus a Euro-linear children. So Afro-circular means working together. Everything goes around, comes around. Linear means individualism, so it's more competition. This was an old one. We have a show, like I said, tomorrow at City Arts. And it's going to be, these are some of the artists' work you'll see when you go there. It's from, the reception is 5 to 8. You can meet my mentor. If you know anybody that needs to talk to him, you can take him down there. Okay? I think that's the end. We got any more music? I thought I had another song. I don't know where it is. It was Diana Ross. Reach out and touch someone. Well, I don't know. You have to do something because I'm still, technology challenged. Click.
Okay.
I have some banners on the back. And the banners, the large one is about the first Black astronaut. He is sending his work here. It won't get here till 7 at night, which is too late. His sculpture piece, but I'll have it at City Arts. He was born in Kansas City. His name is Ed Dwight. Ed Dwight is 90. He is legally blind, so his wife helped him to get this sculpture to us. He had to cancel a $12 million project in Paris because of his eyes. He started doing sculpture when he was 50. Okay? So we've been all over the world trying to get stuff. And this library has been wonderful because they've been trying to help me put all this stuff together and trace this box down. I thought it was at FedEx. It was at UPS, okay? Wrong place. But anyway, you'll see his picture. They had a Black Aviators Day at the Aviation Museum. So we donated a picture of him. The article was done in the New York Times. He was a Kennedy boy. He was supposed to go up in space. He went through all the training, and when Reagan came in, he wouldn't let him go. Do you have any questions? No questions? Oh, wow. I didn't do that good a job, did I? Yes.
Oh, we're going to have you do the microphone. Okay.
Because I have some diploma cards for you.
Okay.
Since you've lasted, since you came to the program.
Okay.
I'm not going to do True Colors. Do everybody know their color in here for True Colors? Anybody know okay. Okay, one.
It's okay.
Dan Lowry devised this personality profile, and it's called True Colors, and you can take it online. So the colors are, the blues are the people that want everybody to get along. The greens are the smartest people because they're always living in tomorrow, thinking of ideas. The golds are the backbone of this country because they pay all their bills on time. And the oranges are the wild children because they love to take risks. Now, I'm an orange and a green, which means I can save my own sanity.
Okay, we had a question over here.
What was the name of the town in Oklahoma that you mentioned?
Oh, Boley, Oklahoma, Boley.
Okay, Boley. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes, they still have the rodeo. It's in May, Memorial Day weekend. Yes, they still have the rodeo.
My question has a little bit more to do with what happened today or recently with the statue for Jackie Robinson. How do you feel about do you know what has been following what's transpired?
Yes, I've seen it on the news. I think it was terrible, for number one. But I think our kids need enough. Those may not be kids. You know, they look like grown-ups driving, okay? But I think if we have enough things for our kids to do to become a part of the community, that will change how other people view our community. So you have to keep, my whole philosophy is, you have to keep kids busy. If they are busy enough, I know I had some, the Black, USD 259 Black History Troop, we took them up to Wichita State to learn African dance. That was the dance part. So the dance instructor was white. So, all the kids kind of turn up their nose, When he got through with them, they went home, went to bed. So when I called the parents, they said, "What did you do?" They came in and went to sleep. I said, they were too tired to do anything else. Your energy, we have enough energy to make the world change. But if you never get a chance to do that, then you're going to think of something else to do. So that's why we're trying to do the shipping containers down there, so that when kids come in, they can see automatically who they are. Now, I usually ask for a donation of a dime at this time. But if you have a dime, you have a piece of Black artwork. Dr. Selma Burke, a sculptor, did the face on the dime. Okay? So there's a lot of Black inventions that we're going to be showing and talking about, so that kids understand if you do the work, you can solve the problem. You're never going to solve a problem if you just listen to your friends. Because most of the times, they don't know how to solve the problem. You need to look at somebody who knows how to do things, so you learn how to do things. Question? Yes.
First, I want to really thank you for coming out today. I really got educated and inspired on a lot of things. One thing that I noticed consistently, that there seems to be like a non-appreciation in the educational system as a whole for art. Is like some of the first programs that they cut or reduce is music and art. So I want to ask you, is there any efforts nationally that you all are working towards to kind of restore the value of art? Because it seems to be very therapeutic and helpful for the children,
Right.
and adults as a whole.
Right.
Thank you.
Well, now they have art therapy. Okay? I was going to major in art therapy when they went to Wichita State when I started there, but they cut the program. When they start to see that art and mental health tie together, then they will start to back it. But first, they have to see that part of it, because right now they just see it's something you do.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It's not connected.
It's not, but if you know, let me see, who do I know? Congressman Epps. I'll call him. He came to one of our shows at Wichita State, and one of my friends went up to all the artists and said, "The president's coming. The president's coming." Well, he wasn't coming. It was Congressman Epps. But he was so excited because everybody was so happy to see him that his office sent every kid a certificate for participating in that program. You see what I mean? Taking that extra energy and time? Yes, yes. In fact, we just did the NAACP show because our president of our organization, he was my student in the 80s, okay? They said they never get away from me. Anyway, so he does broken pot sculpture. He takes old broken pots and then he turns them into jazz characters. We have some pieces. He has some pieces at Mark Arts now, and at City Arts he has some pieces. So, yes, yes. Well, now, you know what? The guys are coming in tomorrow. They're leaving at 6 in the morning, coming in from Dallas. Now, we had 5. Now we got 9. Everybody want to come here. I said, the TV station will be there. "Oh, we want to be on TV. I said, "Oh, okay." So they're coming, and so they're trying to sell. They're business people, And since when I told them about going to, what was I going to? A national NEA conference in Houston. And I told my mentor, I said, "Do you want to go?" Because it was a civil rights theme, and that's his thing. "I don't know, them teachers don't have no money." When he looked at the brochure, he called me back. He said, "Can I have your spot?" I said, "Sure." And the spot I had to go in, I couldn't sell. But you see, you have to pay people back. All that time he had spent with me, dragging me around. We'd be in Chicago. He said, "Go in that store and see if that man will sell your work." So all the artists, we hop out the van, we go inside, we get in there, then we have to run back. He said, "You didn't take your work? Do I have to tell y'all to do everything?" It's like things you don't know. But eventually you catch on. Because when you call him, if you're sensitive and he says, I'm busy, and he hang up in your face, don't take it personal. He is just working. Yes.
Black Unity Ball that you had, why do you think that there would be something like a Black Unity Ball?
Because the students never had, they only played 2 black songs. Because most of the kids were white. Okay?
So there were more or less black kids in schools back in the day. Like at that time, was that 1995? Were there more
Yes.
or less?
No, it was still about the same. Used to be about 30. Yeah, it was still about the same. 30%? Yes, yes, yes. So it was more kids, so you're playing to who's coming to the party. Okay, that's all that was.
So the black kids didn't go.
They went, but they had 2 songs. They went to the prom, but they said they had 2 songs. They dressed up, they got their hair done, and they only had 2 songs. So my son Miles said, Mom, can we do something about this? I said, we'll have our own ball. That's what Wichita has provided for me, has always been an opportunity. And they didn't ask me to write up no long statement. They said, what do you want to do? I said, we're going to do this. We're going to be in the parade. Oh, that's fine. How many kids you want? You need a car? All the time. The principals, and I used to kid Jonathan Wells because he was working at East High School. And I was teaching art upstairs, and he was assistant principal. Every day I walked past him, I said, hey, Mr. Wells, take me with you when you go. That's what I said every day. So when he got to be principal of Allison School, they called me and said, Mr. Wells wants you to be the art teacher. I said, no, because I had just had my baby. The secretaries, we made turquoise jewelry that year. So all the secretaries had turquoise jewelry for my class. They had typed up all my lesson plans and tests. All I had to do was reach in my file cabinet and I was ready to go. So they hung up, they called me back. Said, Janice, you do not understand. When a principal requests you, you are supposed to go. So I finally said yes. So I went to Allison. And that was another one of them lean on me schools. So I was in the art class, I was asking the kids to be careful. We were stacking cardboard because I didn't want them to jump and somebody fall. So this little white girl said, don't pay no attention to that end. I was the only end in the room. So as I went over to kill her, God touched me and made me fall on this cardboard, and I landed on my knee. Sometimes it takes something to bring you back to reality. And when I got up off that floor, I was fine. I didn't say anything to her. I just went to the administration. See what I mean? So sometimes, like coming out of Italy, my son said, Mom, sometimes it's just your natural talent. No, you got some angels on your shoulder. We came out of Italy with an 11-year-old. I was sitting in the airport, and this man walked to me and said, you trying to go back to the States? I said, yes. He said, follow me. He took me all through some long lines and put me in another long line on the plane to come back to the United States.
Do you think USC 259 has changed much? Can you repeat the question to the microphone?
Yeah.
Do you feel that USD 259 has changed much from when you were a teacher at Truesdale?
I'm sure. I had talked to him about changing the PSAT, signing up for the geometry, Algebra 1 geometry, so the kids would be ready. And at that time, they didn't listen. But so now I just have to go to the NAACP. I really can't speak about how they are now, but what they told me at that time, which was 2 years ago, is that kids have changed. And I think grown-ups have changed because they don't want to get out there and do their work. You have to work when you're involved with kids. If you give them something to do, you got to be there with them all the time. You can't say, go do that. It doesn't work that way. So I don't know, you got a new superintendent. I really like Alicia Thompson. I thought she brought a lot to the table. But we need a black student union in the schools. We used to have one. When I retired, I substituted at Heights and Woodland. And at Heights High School, they had an after-school program where kids could go in and work on computers and make up work so that they could graduate. Well, I had a cousin who was pregnant. I didn't know she was my cousin because I heard this math teacher talking about her like a dog, and she had one baby and she's going to have another one. Hey. So anyway, I was in the office, and then I heard my cousins coming around the corner. They said, hey, that looked like Janice. I said, it is, Janice. So I told her that I had talked to a teacher, said if she knows this part, she can pass that test. Sure enough, she started smiling. I said, you know that part, don't you? She said, yes. She passed that test, graduated on time. I was so tired for graduation that I couldn't even go. I had 14 kids that were not supposed to graduate, and I went to the church and prayed for them. I said, because I don't know how we can get, I don't know how I can get this done. You know what I mean? We had a guy that was from Vietnam, and his parents did not read English. So when they would send a notice from the school, he'd get it, you know. So I called him, had him write the failure notice in their language. He started coming to night school, and he graduated. One little girl, black girl, told me she didn't care if she graduated or not. It was all right with her. I said, no problem, because I won't bother you again. But all the rest of them graduated on time. And that's calling them in the morning and calling them on the weekend. What you doing? I'm watching. Oh, no, you're not doing your homework? So all day, all night, Mary Ann. Any more questions?
We're about out of time right now, but
Oh, I'm sorry.
I didn't. You're such a lovely speaker. So thank you all for being here. Don't forget to fill out an evaluation, and I want to give a great thank you to Janice for being such a lovely presenter and an inspiring educator.
Well, listen, one of my students in Kansas City, she's now assistant principal of North Kansas City High School. She just won a $25,000 scholarship. And so for her graduation, she had me come up and speak because they have a graduation called Sankofa. So I said, oh, she was in my peer help at Slago. I had this gown. So I turned, and when I walked out on stage, it was all black. And I said, because of her, I had to make it special. And I brought my people with me. And that's when I had the gown on. Turned it over.